Hello, hello, hello. Assalamu alaikum. Ji ayanu. Pakhair agale. Ni hao. Chunishumme. Washmale. Ohio gozaimes. Guten Morgen. Hola. Bonjour. Privyet. Kaifal. Hale shoma chatore. Ahlan wasalan. Marhaba. And a very amazing good morning to everybody who's tuned into PT World and are watching World this morning. Now, said the very amazing, the very pretty, the very interesting, the very intelligent Maha Makhdoom and Shazad Khan. Hello, Maha. How are you today?
Hello, Shazad. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. That's a very kind introduction.
Thank you very much.
I don't really know what to say to that because you didn't say anything about yourself today.
Yeah, but how was your weekend?
My weekend was good. My plans actually got changed because I was meant to go to Kashmir, but because of the rain on Friday, I wasn't able to. But then I ended up trying to do some work and just chilling and kind of relaxing.
But I could see a few of your posts from Sawat too as well. Did you go to Sawat?
I went a while ago.
Really?
I don't tend to post things while I'm doing them. I do it afterwards.
So it's like throwbacks. Hashtag TB.
No, not throwback because Instagram is not chronological. I've been trying to argue this point for ages. But anyway, no, I've just also been trying to explore as much as Pakistan as I can, as you know, because I feel like we talk about things without actually knowing what the reality is. So it's been very fascinating.
Well, amazing, and thank you very much for asking me about my weekend.
Oh, yes, how was your weekend?
Well, my weekend was very tiring. I was in Karachi and I had to do certain other shows too as well. And you can see with my vocal cord that I've been gelling on the mic quite a lot, so I think I'm going to give it a bit of rest, and I will let you lead the show.
You say this.
Let's do it.
Okay, well, we have a lot to share with you. We have a wonderful show and wonderful guests in the studio. But before that, let's look at what's happening around the world and within Pakistan.
Top. Lok Virsa, in collaboration with Sakafat organization, held a colorful spring fair at Islamabad. People in great numbers thronged to enjoy colors of spring. Well, is it really still spring? I think it's summer already.
Not yet.
It's too hot.
It's meant to rain again on Thursday.
Really? Wow, man. Since the time you've been back, it's
I
just
know,
raining.
you're welcome. Okay, Thailand's Maya Beach, made famous by Hollywood film The Beach back in 2000, which stars Leonardo DiCaprio, receives thousands of tourists going in and out each day, drawn to its picturesque sights.
Wow.
So I guess this is the time to go and visit. I've been there.
Look at that.
I've been there. We went sailing
I've
there
been
last
there
year.
too.
Yeah, it's great.
But I seriously do not want to go to the same country again and again. But moving on, a deaf and partially blind dog that kept a lost 3-year-old girl safe in Australian bushland overnight was awarded police honours after leading rescuers to the child.
I told you, animals are amazing.
They are amazing, and imagine that they're, receiving medals. And
Because they're
I don't
doing-
know when was the last time I received a medal.
Well, they're doing humane acts. Okay, the Beijing International Film Festival is underway to promote the Chinese film industry as a win vein for it. The 8th version of the annual event has attracted 15,000 guests from 300 domestic and international institutes.
Wow. And what a good news to start our day with. Pakistan clinched 8 medals, including 2 gold in the South Asian Judo Championship after the end of individual events in Nepal.
Amazing.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Way to go.
And I really hope, with all these sportsmen that we are going to support them and we're going to invest in them, because it's wrong to just kind of ride on the coat's tail of their success when they're putting in all the hard work, financially, emotionally, physically as well.
Exactly. But then there's one more thing which I want to say before we start what we're going to discuss on the
Please.
topic of the celebrations of the day, and that is that I think in the previous week there were statements passed by the High Court Justice where he said that, there are too many things which are going on within the city as well, and we probably need to look into them. He spoke about the police department too as well. But there's one more thing which I wanted to say, and that is that earlier, there were things to worry about, for example, terrorist attacks and whatnot. So I think this is the second year, and we are on the road to prosperity. We are coming down to societal problems, and it's a good news.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So, the focus is shifting and we
Yes.
are kind of moving forward, which is what everyone wants. But now, as Shazad said, we have a very, very good show for you today. It is World Book and Copyright Day. It is the 23rd of April, and it is the day when Cervantes and Shakespeare passed away, but also it's also the birth of brilliant minds. For example, Maurice Durand, who wrote in French, and then also Vladimir Nabokov, who was also a Russian author, but then he became more prominent when he started writing English.
Wow.
It's also my brother's birthday,
Wow.
so I don't know if I can throw him in the same category, but happy birthday as well
Happy
to all
birthday.
those people today.
What's his name?
Afzal.
Afzal, happy birthday. Have a good day.
So, you know, it's a wonderful day, and it's about paying tribute to the books that are out there and to the authors.
Exactly, and then at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, it is this is a day which was actually commemorated in the first place by UNESCO, and they came up with the idea that we need to celebrate this day, and it is a celebration. It's not an observant type of day as well.
Yeah.
But other than that, when we talk about books, I think internet has actually taken the real crux of the books or the reading itself.
Yeah.
It is to celebrate authors, it is to celebrate reading, it is to celebrate or probably come up with activities with which we can probably promote more reading and more learning.
Absolutely. So we've been joined by some really apt guests for this topic. So Shahzad is going to do the introductions,
All right.
and then we're going to get started.
So on
with
my
the
right-hand side, ladies and gentlemen, he's always been our favorite whenever he's on the show. I'm glad that, you know, he always shows up whenever we want him to be over here on such days as well. He's a nominee for Nobel Prize in Literature himself. He's a poet. He's none other than Mr. Irshadullah Khan Sahab. Hello, assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum salam. Pleasure to be here again.
Thank you very
Pleasure
much.
to have you on the show. Thank you for being here. Besides Irshadullah Khan Sahab, we've been joined by Dr. Shaheen Ashraf Shah. She is an author and also the director of Gender and Development in Pakistan Reading Project. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. Thank you for joining
Thank
us
you very
today.
much for joining us. And last but not the least, he's been on the show earlier too as well. Well, he's been even represented a few departments of the United Nations too as well. He's worked on education quite a lot. He's an educationist himself. He's a teacher himself. He's none other than Mr. Umar Qureshi. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's get the conversation started. And I'm not going to start with our usual, you know, what's the significance of today? We know what the significance is.
No, but still, we need to ask that.
Well, we can find another way to word the question. So I'm going to start with you. The importance of still observing and celebrating today. Well, I think it's the same thing. So
It's all right.
today, World Book Day, why do we need to make sure that we keep highlighting such a event?
I think it's very, very important to observe this day worldwide and in Pakistan particularly.
Yep.
Because books are the road to success.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, wonderful.
Dr. Shaheen, what about you?
I think it is obviously very important for us, and Pakistan used to have a very rich culture of the reading and, you know, writing books and all these things, though we have lost this culture in the last 2 decades, but still not too late, and we need to concentrate more on it, and we need to celebrate.
Okay, wonderful.
Very nice.
Excellent.
Umar,
Books are always going to show the culture of the society. And these actually work as the footprints of the social norms. And book reading and book writing must be appreciated, must be celebrated. It should be more than like having just one day. It should come in the daily lives that people should be celebrating the writers and should be reading the books more.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
But then at the same time, you know, the whole purpose of to celebrate this day is to actually celebrate authors.
Yeah.
And other than celebrating authors, we need to come up with activities where we make sure that more and more people are going towards book reading. And internet has certainly taken it away because they just keep us captivated with who tweeted what and who harassed who. So yeah, go ahead. How do we do that?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, first, I think we should concentrate on the students
Yeah.
in the schools and colleges because I feel that they have lost the charm of reading books.
Okay.
Unfortunately, with internet, Facebook, and other things coming on, and Twitter coming on.
Yeah.
And I think this is key for our country, that people do read books, because books open your minds to other cultures besides your own culture. And books are vital for the enhancement of one's intellect.
Absolutely. And these are very important points. I want to move on to Dr. Shaheen. So when we were talking about the social media and the internet now, how it's kind of taken people's attention away. You're working on the reading project. So what are we doing to, you know, what is the actual situation on the ground level? You know, is it actually a negative impact on reading, or were we already going away from the culture of reading before that?
Actually, Pakistan Reading Project is working for the promotion of the culture of the reading. And when we say culture, it means not just writers,
Yeah.
but reviewers, institutions, children, books, and all these things. I think that at the moment, as I said earlier, that we have lost the culture of the reading in our country. And especially the situation of the grassroots level in schools is not as good as it should be.
Right.
We have been providing a lot of material to the children, and that material is very, very fascinating and very interesting for the people. I think until unless you do not develop very fascinating and attractive material for the children, it's not possible that children feel themselves attracted towards the reading.
Okay, we will talk about the material and the work in a moment, but
There's just one thing which I wanted to ask, and this is a question for you, Mr. Mayor, and that is that reading is a habit which is being instilled into kids if they can actually see their parents doing it.
True.
Or anybody else around them within the household. Well, I certainly do not see any parent while traveling, probably on the airports, because usually what happens if you're traveling around the world, this is what people are doing on bus stops or probably on train stations or on airports or whenever they get some free time. So everybody around them can see that people are reading books. So I actually once felt guilty, bought a book, started reading it as well. That, you know, okay, I shouldn't look outside the box as well. So how do we do it? Because over here, we just do not have this culture. We do not have such festivals where we gather parents and kids. And there are different exhibitions too. But I don't see a larger number of people turning up.
Shizad, there was a problem that started back to three decades ago.
Okay.
We slowly went away from literature, and the society is actually now has a vacuum of literature.
okay.
That, like, we had fantastic poets, we had fantastic writers back in 70s and 80s, and I remember how Nasir Kazmi was appreciated in Lahore. So the thing is, it's the culture. It needs, if the thing is eradicating from the society, the people need to start a campaign. Like the people on the media, in the media houses, in print media and electronic media, they have to start this campaign. Look, you are very right that parents should do it at homes. And I remember whenever I used to go abroad, I used to bring books for my daughter.
Right.
And I have a huge bulk, I have big library of books at my home. But let's start from the small things.
Sure.
If your friend has birthday, give him a book as gift. And that is the culture. That is the thing that starts. And if we don't look at this culture, if we don't appreciate this culture, slowly the whole society will turn into a very black and white situation.
I just want to add this, and we have been hearing about Dadi Amma ki kahaniyan, and at the night time, Dadi Amma is, reciting a lot of stories for the children, but it's not happening now. We see that social media, Facebook, and television, radio, these are more considered more reliable and accessible resources for the parents and for the children. So it is the moving towards books is really very less likely. In this
but this is
culture.
something which we have to decide over here. Either we are making our kids read books which are going to be helpful in their developmental years, or either they're going to listen to stories from grandmother where it was all fiction, going to the moon, coming back, or probably just like that, which kids loved. So how do we create a balance where book reading is entertainment too and book reading is learning too as well? Whoever wants to answer.
I would like to add one thing. When something is eradicating, is going to wash out from the society, there will be a need of deliberate effort. So this is the time of doing deliberate effort. Social media and WhatsApp and all these things are not actually going to add values or adding some intellect to the society. Today, I am a teacher and I meet students every day. Yes, students do read the books, but they read fiction, they read poetry of their own interest. But when you go on social media and you see the hot debates going on and you ask why you give this post, they said we read it somewhere else on social media. So you are picking up content which is not authentic, which is not credible, and you are reposting it on the same social media. So the societies that read the books, they have some high level of intellect. They have that wisdom to analyze the things. So I always say, if you cannot write, it's okay, you can learn. But if you don't want to write, you must read.
Absolutely.
I think it is also important to understand what reader really want to wants to read. We do not concentrate much on, for instance, we don't go to ask the student, how do you feel about the books which are being currently taught in the schools and universities? What they think about it, and is there any research on the viewers and getting views of those who are reading the books? So if there is no research, if there is no analysis of what a reader really wants to read, you cannot produce such.
No, but this is not what my question was. My question originally was, sir, I'll start from you and then we can move on that. Either we want to share some fictional stories with kids, or either we want to share some contentful reading with them, which is going to make them leaders, because this is what we say, readers are leaders, right?
Sure. First, let us see what kids start reading.
Yeah. What did you started with?
Stories of Little Red Riding Hood,
Yeah.
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
And then as you grow up, you come up into school days and college, later school days and college, you come to Wuthering Heights,
Yeah.
and the books of Dickens and others, Tale of Two Cities, Great Expectations. Basically, the encouragement should be from the parents for the children to read.
Right.
And as it was said earlier, the best gift you can give to a kid is a book.
Absolutely.
And it's not just on his birthday, but frequently.
Yeah.
So they keep reading. And to also the diversity of the books. It should not be confined just to prose, but poetry and drama, all aspects of literature. This is very important.
Okay, and and that's what I think. What the summer is, that you can't pick one or the other. It's about reading everything, and then that's also when your critical analysis and where you look at things, you become more analytical, critical when you approach life. So you can't pick one or the other. But as you get older, you're inclined to prefer one or the other.
So this is why I've got a question for you too as well.
Gosh.
Since you're a book reader too, you're an avid reader.
try.
I definitely find a novel somewhere lying in your bag too as well at times. So now what I wanted to ask was, do you think that reading actually helps you in critical thinking?
Absolutely. It helps your imagination. It helps you with words. Like the other day when you weren't here on Friday, I kept using the same words. So on the weekend, I was like, I need to read more because my vocabulary is getting very limited.
Yeah.
But on that note, we're going to go for a short break. And when you come back, we're going to continue our conversation. Do stay tuned.
Book is life. Book is hope. And book is light for the future.
Basic education is the right of every child. Today, some 168 million children are in child labor, deprived of education. Every child, without discrimination, deserves access to a quality education. Basic education is the right of every child.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for everybody who just got tuned into PT While You Watch Your World this morning alongside Maha Makhdoom and Shahzad Khan. And today we've gathered authors, teachers, educationalists, and Nobel Prize, nominee for the Nobel Literature Prize as well. But at the same time, before going towards the break, we were talking about Book Day and the copyrights as well. Before we indulge into how do copyrights work over here within Pakistan, we've got something to share for all those kids who are out there.
Exactly. So we're going to now go share a trailer with you, A Wrinkle in Time. Let's go take a look. And when you come back, we're going to continue our conversation.
See with mine. See with mine.
You were a top student, but look at you now. You can't keep using your father's disappearance as an excuse to act out.
Is that his work? What's it about?
Their dad, he wanted to touch the stars. Imagine that the ant here wants to get to her other hand.
The quickest option is to walk across the street.
But it turns out a straight line is not the shortest distance between 2 points. Not if you use a fifth dimension.
It's outside of the rules we know of time and space. So the ant arrives in my hand instantaneously.
So you fall to space.
More likely wrinkle it. Where are we?
We heard a cry out in the universe.
I thought he was alive.
We believe he is, and we're here to help you find him. We are in search of warriors.
Warriors who serve the good and the light in the universe. You're kidding.
Do I look like I'm kidding?
A little. I'm not. I'm not.
Your father's trapped by an evil energy,
It's too strong for our light.
and the only one who can stop it is you. Be a warrior.
My love is always there, even if you can't see it.
Do you trust me? I trust you!
So that was A Wrinkle in Time, and this was leading back to Shahzad's point that do we need to read one or the other, and in order to make leaders. But it's even within imagination and within this kind of story, it's teaching you about right and wrong. It's teaching you about being a good person. So everything, you should read everything, basically.
Exactly. And then there's one more thing which I would love to share with people out there, and you as people or as humans within and being member of the society, what happens is that we quite a lot of times pick up on our friends if they're not pronouncing a word correctly.
Yes.
So for somebody who's actually not pronouncing a word correctly means that he's actually read it, he's not been listening to the same word again and again. So pay respect to that person.
Absolutely. So now let's move along with the conversation. And so you published a lot of books,
yes.
poetry books,
Yes.
and we've talked about them on our show previously. But as for people out there who want to now get their material out, do you think it's a welcoming environment? It's easy to get books published, and should it be easy to get books published?
Because it's 28 books for you and 4 plays down the line, so you might probably be able to tell us.
First, it is very important that publishers in Pakistan should look forward to publishing books.
Okay.
There are a lot of writers in Pakistan, who are quality writers, but they find it difficult to have the books published.
Okay.
This is an aspect the government should encourage it actually. The other thing is the copyright. The copyright is very important.
Right.
Like for example, if you write put a poem on Facebook, it's essential that below the poem you write down your name, copyright 2018, or whichever year it is, so that you're protected.
Right.
And then for copyright of your books, you go to the National Library, where the books are copyrighted.
Okay.
Right.
And that is essential, that you have your books, your works copyrighted.
Absolutely.
That is
Before,
essential.
before we ask about the advantages of the, getting yourself protected with the copyright thing, I just want to go back to the publishing point.
Yes.
And when we talk about publishing, now the dynamics of book publishing has changed. People have evolved, companies, there are new companies out there because there are books being published, there are online books too as well, e-books which we may call them as well.
Yes, yes.
Over here, I haven't really seen publishers adapting to the technological advances within the book writing concept. So what do we do about it?
Well, first, I think there should be some sessions for these people, literary sessions, where their scholars come there and explain to them the modern publishing attitudes and techniques.
Okay.
This is essential, I think, in Pakistan.
But I think a lot of it also relates to the market. Whether you have market to develop e-books and whether people are really used to of reading books on screens and on the tablets and others. For instance, when I was doing PhD in UK, we had an access to several books online, and we used to read books online and incorporating those books into our thesis and writings. But I'm not sure that in Pakistan really we have that kind of culture where people used to read on the screens and tablets and all these things. So if you have a market, then you can the publisher can develop such things. So if you have no market, then it's really
well. See, with that we truly need to understand that. For example, I've got two examples. Now, first of all, when we go into a library, when we step into it, then we have these options. All around us, we can go pick one up or pick other up as well. But with internet, the market's already there. The entire world is your market. So, for example, if I'm scrolling, and there's a link by Rashadullah Khan Saab on my Facebook, and it says that, here's my new book, and it's out there, I'll just go click it, go through it, probably read the preface as well, and then come out of it. So the market is there.
No,
when are we
Usman,
going
it
to
is not the
realize
case.
whether the market is
It is not
there?
possible to access all the books. Many of the books are, inaccessible. They have a copyright,
And you have to pay for that.
You have to pay for it, yeah. And if people are not willing to pay for those books who are even online available, then it means there is no market.
Okay.
So then if there are books online, that means that there is the market.
I'm going
Because there are so many books online available.
Okay, but no, I think what the point is that there are some that are so old or they haven't been put into the archives. Also, that we're not talking about everyone. At the end of the day, everyone has a mobile phone. They have access to certain things, but we have to look at the literacy within this country. You have to look at the literacy rate. Are they really people going to go out there and download Charles Dickens?
But the books are not just for us. It's not just for Pakistani people. It's for the entire world out there.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about the world. Okay,
Yes.
so I'm basing it on Pakistan. So,
Yeah.
okay, but now, sir, I want to ask Umair Saab, this conversation we're having about publishing, copyrights, availability, access. What are your thoughts on it? Because you work a lot with students.
When I talk to the teachers, when I talk to the students, what is my understanding about this culture is, look, I said we need a deliberate effort to be done in order to bring this culture in the society.
Right.
So who will do it? Number one, the parents. Number two, the teachers. And if both are not reading the books, like I remember my time when I was a student, my one teacher used to come to the class and tell me, did you read that book? Did you read that book? This was the good stuff. This was the good stuff. But today, it's a fast-paced life now.
Yeah.
Why there are so many online books? Because they are easy to publish.
Okay.
The second thing is they don't actually need physical audience. You just upload your content and you try to copyright it and you just move on. The real thing is Pakistan needs Pakistani people and the government and the people should, and especially the publishers, should take care of copyright. Look, this is a respect to be given to the author. It's about respect. It's not about content. It's more about the respect. So a person who spends a lot of time, effort, gives all the energy, and ultimately the content is gone and violating the copyrights, it's injustice.
Okay.
So it's not about literacy only, it's about the educational standards and how high bars of ethics you set in the society.
Okay.
And that comes from the homes, from the schools, from the universities and colleges. If you go to the schools and the colleges and universities, there is not a culture of reading among the teachers themselves. And that is the big question mark. Through this program, and obviously when everybody is listening to me, I would request the teachers to read the books. promote the culture of reading and writing. If you cannot think of anyone as at the higher level of intellect except the teachers, educationists, and the people who are writing the books, the authors. They are the cream. If the teachers, educationists, and the thinkers are not writing the books, there is something seriously wrong with the society, and the impact will not be seen today. The impact will be seen after 30 years.
Exactly, and I think we're already kind of seeing a slight impact of the lack of reading culture, because we're having this debate, and when we were young we didn't have this debate. You just knew reading a book was good, and if you didn't read a book, you were the odd one out, because all my friends used to read books, and it was really quite embarrassing.
I still remember the time when my grandfather and my father actually every day they used to wake up, and the first thing they would do is read a newspaper.
Exactly.
Every day. And this is why we still get a newspaper at our houses.
Excellent.
So that he wants our parents wants their kids to read it, and probably have that culture too going on. But other than that, now Dr. Saiba, what I want to know is how important it is to develop inclusive material, because this is something which we are not doing.
Yeah, I think it is very, very important to develop, reflect diversity in the material. Right now, material that has been produced, which is really not very inclusive. You don't find examples of the minorities. You don't find people in the material of disabled, who are the disabled population. So, for instance, when PRP developed, Pakistan Reading Project developed material for their children, we made every effort to make it inclusive. You find stories of, disabled children, you find stories of minorities, people are celebrating Holi, a Hindu festival, and people are also, celebrating or doing a lot of Christmas and other events. But I think this was a kind of process we developed. We indulged not just the writers, but reviewers, parents and students. We got feedback from them, and we trained them that how this material can be made inclusive. Right. Until and unless you do not talk with the writers, with the reviewers about the inclusivity and how they can improve it, I think it is not possible, because it's every person has some own biases as well. Sometimes you do intentionally, and sometimes it happens unintentionally. So I think most important is to talk about it and to tell them that the thing they are to develop should be inclusive, should reflect the diversity of the society, the people who exist in the society. There should be some.
I'm very sorry that I just get these ideas, and I'm known for that too as well. I mean, I just get naughty at times.
What are you gonna do?
What I wanted to ask over here is, okay, for example, if somebody's he does not or she does not want to read a book, but they're more like, okay, there's a film out, and it's based on the book. Which one's better? Do we go watch the film? It's easier and simpler and entertaining, or do we read the book first?
What would you do? What would you recommend?
Well, I'd go for the movie.
You're in my team.
Exactly.
What about you, Dr. Saiba?
I think it's more fascinating to go and watch the movie.
What's happening?
Like I remember I watched Troy first, and then I read the novel.
Okay,
Troy.
I think
and there was a huge difference.
Okay, so basically, I'm one of those people. I have to read the book before I watch the film.
I think I can give. We can take the example of the Harry Potter. So you see, there are a lot of people are buying the books as well. So it's not just watching movie on the and they get books and they read it.
And I think they complement each other as well. The film doesn't always have everything that the book has, so you have surprises.
We had a time back in Pakistan when PTV used to release those dramas which were made on on novels.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we remember Asghar Nadeem Sayyed writing and his novels and all
Banu
those things.
Qudsiya and
Banu Qudsiya, Ashfaq Ahmed. So there were huge big names in the society. We had Ashfaq Ahmed, we had Asghar Nadeem Sayyed, we still have them. I mean, but the culture was so rich. We had wonderful subcontinent writers, like we had Rabindranath Tagore, we had Mushtaq Yusufi, we had Colonel Muhammad Khan. I remember I have read all the books of Colonel Muhammad Khan because I just love
this. This is what we're going to do. So towards the end, since we're only left with 5 minutes, so what we're going to do is, first of all, sir, one by one, everybody has to call out the names of their best or the finest authors whom they love to read, and then one book recommendation for all those people who are out there.
Yeah. It could be from anywhere.
And just tell them why do you want them to read this book.
Yeah.
Okay. The book I would like my friends who are watching to read is, I just mentioned the name earlier on, it's slipping my mind. What is it called?
Okay, we can come
we
back
can come back to you if you like to think about it.
Yeah,
okay,
think about
ma'am.
I have been reading the poetry of the Shah Abdul Latif Bhittai, Sachal, and I've been reading Sheikh Ayaz, Dirbet, Allama Iqbal. But I have been more reading books relevant to the research. So I think there are lots of books. It may be difficult to choose one to recommend to the audiences, but I think more important is to read the books. It's read the books which are more, interesting and which are more.
But where should people start off? Like you don't have to say one book. They say just give one book which will then trigger their interest. So what would you recommend?
Oh, I again would say that it would be difficult.
Oh yeah, but that's not helping all our non-readers out there because there's so much information out there. So, okay, so fine, let's move on to you.
Like
but we want a recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
First, your favorite authors, and then one recommendation.
my favorite author is Manto.
Okay.
And there are so many books by Manto, and he always thought out of the box. And the big reason is he gives you the reason to think literature and take literature in a very different way.
Absolutely.
And this is not about the mainstream authors. If you like poetry, you understand, you like philosophy, go and read Khan Baba, Shah Abdul Latif Bhittai, Heer Warisha. It was very difficult for me to read Warisha, but it's a very dense Punjabi language.
Right.
So, but you will enjoy. Once you start reading it, you enjoy. So there are many authors, but start somewhere, from somewhere.
Exactly.
It matters a lot when you select first book and you start reading.
Exactly.
I'd like my friends to read my favorite author, Shakespeare, Hamlet.
Okay.
Hamlet conveys everything.
Okay, absolutely. And that's a great way to place a start as well.
Yes.
So I'm not going to answer that question because can't think of any book right now that
Yeah, but I think I'm going to recommend them one as well, and I'm reading that book, and it feels great to read that book, certainly, because it's the author is Karen Armstrong, and she's written a book, The Prophet of Our Times, and recently I was very indulged in, to seek about or to learn about Prophet's life, and especially when it comes from somebody who's a non-believer and they say all of these things, it's just so beautiful to read that you just instantly fall in love with the Prophet himself.
Exactly. So actually I do. I just read one like at the end of, one that's coming to mind at the end of last year, beginning of this year. It's called Open City and it's by Teju Cole, and it's more of like a, psychology and all that stuff. The main dude is a psychiatrist. So
And
it's
you always love
really
this, right?
reflecting, and it's really just about seeing the world through someone else's eyes. And this is what reading is all about. It's that, it can take you across the world. It can take you to the moon, to the stars and back. And that's what it's all about, building your imagination.
Exactly. All you have to do is that pick up one of those books which will relate to whatever you think about.
Exactly.
And you will love it, because eventually you'll be like, oh, how did the author knew that, okay, this is what I like. So it becomes interesting after every page, and eventually you'll be like, okay, what am I reading next?
Exactly. So, we on PTV World this morning, we're saying, today, go out, buy a book, and then tell us what you've got, and then we can share it with all our viewers as well.
Exactly.
But thank you so much for being here
My
today.
pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
And I think we've covered everything. Reading is good, and just don't run away from it. And reading online and these articles, it's not the same thing. We're not saying you have to buy an expensive book. There's paperback, there's everything. So do invest.
Yeah, and I'll be honest over here that initially, when 4.5 years earlier, we started this bandwagon and we wanted to do shows. Whenever shows like book reading or such stuff used to come up, we used to put in quite a lot of hard work, and we never knew how to make these shows entertaining. But I think that today it was on a very lighter note. We didn't discuss or didn't badmouth about anybody, but the sole purpose or the reason was to celebrate our authors. We are celebrating you guys. All you need to do is have faith in yourselves and give value to your own self.
Absolutely. Do keep writing for us. And if you would like to have any more information of what we've spoken about, log on to our Facebook fan page.
With the name of World This Morning.
Our Twitter page.
World This Morning without
our
a G.
Daily Motion and YouTube page.
World This Morning, World This Morning.
And the repeat is that.
PM.
Have a wonderful day, and we will see you bright and early tomorrow morning.
Till the next time, 1, 2, 3.
Good morning.